over the past few months, 4 months to be exact, COVID-19, which is a coronavirus, has affected everyone in varying degrees, physically, economically, psychologically. But why is a health issue relevant to biodiversity conservation, to the fisheries sector in particular? Is there a connection? In the pre-pandemic scenario, the fisheries are already facing enormous challenges. Among them, lack of support to fishers. As Professor Nigel mentioned earlier, in the value chain, there's no access to technology. Fishers also have low financial security. They are indebted to many borrowers. In this scenario, the fishers face new challenges. This is in addition to what they are already and were already experiencing prior to the pandemic. In particular, the restrictions on human movement and interactions imposed by the quarantine measures reduce public transport, thus limited mobility and participation. The fishers also had limited access to government safety nets and recovery programs. How did this pandemic affect the fisheries and the ecosystems? This transition stage, the fishers are still facing the same situation at the start of the lockdown, and their experience is getting more challenging as the lockdown is getting longer and longer. What else do we know? Fact number one, there is limited or even lack of support to the fisheries sector. They are marginalized in the recovery plan. What does this mean? It means that families of 2 million fishers, that's roughly 10 million. If you look at the average number of family members, they may not be able to bounce back fast enough. The poorer they become, their health and their families are compromised. The lack of support for the sector could mean fishers will try to squeeze out more from the already overfished stocks just to survive. The net effect may result in increase in fishing efforts and potentially illegal, destructive fishing methods. What else do we know in this stage, transitioning to the bluer normal? There is lack of diversified income stream. Fishing is an unpredictable profession and with uncertain incomes. Fishers, as we mentioned earlier, have the least share in the value chain. From our work, saving is not also the strength of the fishers, making them vulnerable to any change or threat. There's no emergency savings. There's no emergency funds for anything that can happen to them. What can we do at this stage? As the country heals as one, the hashtag here is hashtag we heal as one, and be able to withstand further impacts and improve resilience of fishers. We could strengthen the local short supply chain linked to LGUs and private sector. An example that was done during this pandemic is the fish change that was established to connect fish suppliers to end buyers with links to local transport providers like tricycles in the fish right programs. There are also like local government units buying fish from local fishers to distribute to families in the lockdown areas. The other thing that we can do is to provide solutions or opportunities for diversification of income streams of marginalized fishers through supplemental or alternative livelihoods. And as we do this, we need to look into the special needs of women and migrants. Complement program with financial literacy and community savings programs. This will support men and women fishers to be resilient to threats, live in dignity and security while protecting the natural habitat. Recruit local community members in cash for work programs to increase the capacity for bantay dagat patrolling and LPA maintenance and protection. This achieves both increasing emergency employment and protection of the natural habitat. In scenario 4, this is the bluer normal. This is what we hope to strive, where all systems are in place, communities do responsible practices and behaviors, like following rules, social distancing, following health and safety, there are livelihood opportunities, there's partnership all across the different sectors. In addition, it is key to institute holistic actions that can help the fisheries sector to build systems and address their needs as frontliners. And we do this by investing in social safety nets. For example, providing diversified livelihoods, both immediate and long-term, and provision of a simultaneous or corresponding health care package. Providing immediate relief to local communities that are disproportionately affected by a crisis by hiring affected households in activities like coastal cleanups, mangrove planting, MPA protection, bantay dagat patrols, providing incentives for micro, small, and medium enterprises. These are all needed to build resilience. To incorporate these social safety nets in fisheries management measures, we also incentivize management. This will contribute to safeguarding the coastal and marine ecosystem that underpins the Philippines' bluer normal. The DA's call on Ani at Kita embodies this message. And while this is not the solution or the magic bullet, because we know that the challenges that we face are complex, it is important to rethink our interventions and make more explicit the connection of management measures and biodiversity conservation to delivering social and economic benefits. We can also invest in conservation and nature-based solutions. These are actions that protect, sustainably manage, and restore natural or modified ecosystems that addresses societal challenges effectively and adaptively, which simultaneously provides human well-being and biodiversity benefits. This could include accelerating support for MPA networks to maximize ecological connectivity and further protect marine resources under the changing climate conditions. Another thing that we could do is to institute policy reforms and systems to increase access to finances, information, and affordable and available and effective technologies. An example is the fish change, which I described earlier. While it was initially established as an online platform to connect fishers and buyers, it is also a mechanism to promote biodiversity conservation and sustainable fisheries. Policies that will ensure trading of products consistent with right-sizing measures could contribute to reducing IUU. Last but not the least that we can do is to support community strategies that contributes to community pride and increase commitment to the protection of natural resources.
We are emphasizing on the part of the DNR is that investment in natural resources management, specifically marine protected area, national protected area management system, and biodiversity conservation should not be left behind in the priority, as this could be very crucial as far as our food security. This is very crucial as one of our ticket towards the new normal. One, many systems in place are falling or failing with the spread of coronavirus, requiring all sectors to rebuild, both on the social and economic sector. And one of the significant issues is, given the limited mobility and lack of commercial activity due to the implementation of lockdown, is food security. The marine environment is known to be a major food source, as well as means of livelihood for coastal communities. On the part of the DNR, let me point out the link and the need as far as marine biodiversity conservation and marine protected areas under the pandemic situation. One, for enterprise and livelihood that depend directly on natural resources, such as fishing, the sustainability of these resources is key to survival. For decades, we have seen biodiversity conservation and its role on sustainable development. Food security relies on the integrity of our ecosystem. Thus, we have been establishing nationally managed protected areas, as pointed out by BFAR colleague earlier, under the National Integrated Protected Area System, to conserve biological diversity and support human well-being. Currently, there are around 244 protected areas under NIPAS, 107 of which have been legislated already under RA 11038. 13 have been proclaimed by the President under the NIPAS, and 124 remains as initial component of the system, of which we are doing the protected area suitability assessment, which is to determine which are needed still for the PA management system. Aside from the 35 legislated marine protected areas, we are in full support in the establishment and strengthening of locally managed protected areas. As pointed out by BFAR, the local government plays a major role in managing our 15-kilometer municipal waters. And we do encourage local conservation areas within the municipal waters. For the Biodiversity Management Bureau, of which I'm now heading, have been consistent in pushing for the protection of biologically and ecologically important land marine areas that are crucial in sustaining the food security of the country. I'm talking of the West Philippine Sea and the Philippine Rice region. The West Philippine Sea accounts for almost 40% of Philippine waters and hosts as a wealth of our coastal and marine resources, from coral reefs, seagrass bed, to fishery resources, to energy and mineral resources, among many others that has to be studied very carefully. We also have to consider that biodiversity conservation doesn't stop with the pandemic. We see this as an opportunity to transition to improve what is currently normal. If the pandemic disrupts the system we have at hand, it is our decision to rebuild better and work for more resilient system towards a bluer normal. Essential conservation work is still going or still ongoing, and we'll continue to improve our work adapting to the new normal. On the part of the DNR, we have a specific programs that addresses marine protected area network. We have the Coastal and Marine Ecosystem Management Program. This is a long-term investment program of DNR, and we're doing this in partnership with the different agencies involved, including the Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources, which is basically part of our convergence initiative. Under this program, the biodiversity assessment and monitoring system are in place. What is very important on the part of the local government and other law enforcement agencies is the protection of our marine waters, including our municipal waters. It's a very important component that should not be left out, is enforcing the laws as far as this area is concerned.